everybody, I'm Dr. Audrey Robinson, play therapist for Mesquite ISD Family Support Center, and I'm here to talk to you today about kids and their emotions. Kids communicate their emotions differently than adults. You know, your kid, especially the younger they are, is not going to sit you down and say, "Hey mom, do you have a minute? I really want to talk to you about all these changes in the world, how anxious I'm feeling. Can you help me process this?" Your kid's not going to do that. Kiddos are going to show you rather than tell you. There's a direct link between feelings and behaviors. So we're going to talk today about that link and how you can help your kiddos. Now, kids have the same depth and breadth of emotions that you do. They're feeling the same things that we are right now, especially in this time with the pandemic and shelter in place and social distancing. In fact, what we may be experiencing is grief. I know that you've lost things. It may not be the same as a death, that's still loss. You may have lost your job or the amount of hours you're working. Your kids have lost their friends at school and their teacher. You've lost maybe family members and the connections that you have every day, the opportunity to go play as much. You've had lots of losses in your life, and there can be anger and sadness and confusion that goes along with that grief. And I want to talk today about ways that you can help your kiddos handle those things. Your kids may be showing you in some really unfun ways right now. In fact, your kiddos may be having more meltdowns. If you had a kiddo who already had meltdowns, they may be more intense, they may be longer, they may be more frequent. You may also have kiddos that are showing opposition. They may be oppositional. They're saying no. They're not wanting to do what you're telling them to do or asking them to do. And your kiddos may be more aggressive right now. I want to talk about those things and some things we can do to help. Now, we're going to talk about these feelings, and all feelings are accepted, but not all behaviors are accepted. So I want to talk about that aggression in a little bit too. Much of the information I'm going to share with you today comes from child-parent relationship therapy and a book called How to Talk So Kids Will Listen and Listen So Kids Will Talk. And we're going to walk through some steps with some simple examples before we get on to the things like meltdown and aggression. This starts with naming the feeling. There's such power in naming the feeling for kiddos. Oftentimes kiddos don't know what they're feeling. They just know it's a bad feeling and they don't want to feel this way. They might not know if it's sad, mad, or scared. So I want you, when you notice something's going on with your kiddo, I want you to look them in the eyes and I want you to name the feeling in a few words. So today, I asked my daughter, "Hey, what do you want for lunch?" She wants a peanut butter and jelly. Great, I make her a strawberry jelly, peanut butter and jelly. She didn't want strawberry, she wanted grape. We don't even have grape. She melts down. So I'm gonna start with, "Oh, I know you're really mad at me about the sandwich not being how you wished it were." Or, "I noticed you seem really sad today." Just a couple of words naming the emotion for your kiddos. And it's not your job to make your kiddo feel better when they're having these negative emotions. That's a lot of pressure to put on yourself. You are not responsible for your kids' happiness. We want kids to grow up and know how to handle these negative emotions and know that they are the owners. They are in power, in control of their own feelings. And so we want kids to experience these negative feelings, sad, mad, and scared, in a safe place with you there to support them, so when they grow up, they know how to experience them without having meltdowns or aggression or being oppositional. This is great practice for them. They're learning. You have the benefit of time and wisdom and many years to learn how to deal with and handle your feelings. Kids are just figuring this out. This is all new to them. So we're gonna help them through it. And the first thing we're gonna do is name that feeling. And we're also going to accept that feeling, not necessarily the behaviors that go along with it. We're not going to deny the feeling. So many of us grew up denying that feeling. I shouldn't feel angry. I shouldn't feel sad or scared. That's not true. All feelings are accepted and they're all okay. What we do with them is what makes them okay or not okay. It's not okay to hurt yourself or someone else when you're feeling sad, mad, or scared, and that's what we want to teach our kids. So we don't want to push away those bad feelings. We want to help our kids move through them to the other side and realize that this is just for a small period of time or maybe a longer period of time, but you won't always feel this way. And when we help kiddos accept those feelings, they learn that, oh, I can feel okay. They learn to trust themselves. And they also learn to take responsibility for their feelings and their actions. And those are all things we want our kiddos to grow up and have. When we're working on accepting the feeling, we want to make sure we're accepting it and we're not denying or pushing that feeling away. So let's work through a couple of examples. Let's say that your kiddo had found a lizard in the yard and they were playing with it and the lizard died. And they come in and they're like, oh man, I'm so sad that the lizard died. Or they're crying, oh, a lizard died, a lizard died. It might be easy to say, oh, you're really sad, there'll be more lizards. That's really minimizing and kind of denying that feeling. We're naming it, but then we're denying it and saying, but don't feel that way by saying it like that. So you want to just name that feeling. You're really sad. You had so much fun with that lizard and you really wish it were still here. That just allows your kid to experience that feeling, take responsibility, know I'm sad and it's okay to be sad, and then you can help your kiddo move on and find ways to help themselves be happy again. Now, I know that one of the big things we've been having fights over at my house is food, and so the grocery store has been allowed of a lot of the things that my kiddo eats, and she only eats a small select percentage of the things. So I might say something like, oh man, you really wanted Honey Nut Cheerios and the store was out of them. And there's a technique called, waving your magic wand. And I've got a little magic wand and say, oh man, if I could wave my magic wand, I'd give you the cereal right now. I'm really sorry that the store didn't have them anymore. So you're helping your kiddo understand and kind of feel these feelings and work through them. Now, let's talk about those bigger examples. When your kid's having a meltdown, when your kid's being aggressive or being oppositional. Again, we're accepting the feeling, but not necessarily the behaviors. And I want to say, if your kid's being aggressive with you or somebody else, then that needs to be stopped right away. I'm not for hitting. And whatever the consequence might be, a timeout, or I'm going to go into another room and I'll come back and check on you in a few minutes. Same thing with the meltdown. Your kiddo. If your kiddo needs you to kind of come in and be closer and needs you to wrap their arms around you and help you and have you help them to kind of regulate and calm down. Or if your kiddo's one of those kiddos that the closer you get, the more you talk to them and the more you try, that they're going to just get worse and worse and worse. And you may notice that your kiddo needs some space. Now, a dysregulated adult can't help a kiddo regulate. If you're not calm, you're not going to be able to help your kiddo calm down either. So when you use these words, you got to match your kiddo's tone or even be even calmer than your kiddo. I notice you're really angry about that right now. I'm going to come back in just a few minutes and check on you when you've had a chance to calm down. Sometimes your kiddos may just need a moment to have a tantrum and cry. If you notice that your kiddos are being aggressive or they're melting down, then you want to help them find ways to let that emotion out in a way that's not going to hurt themselves or someone else. Sometimes young kids even bang their heads. You want to make sure that they're not hurting themselves, but I don't want you to be super alarmed by that behavior. It's somewhat common in younger kids throwing tantrums. So you want to help your kid find a way. Now, if your kiddo's prone to aggression, you might want to start screaming into a pillow or punching a pillow. We want to get that aggression out, so running, exercise, those sorts of things. If you've got things they can punch, a bop bag would be, or a punching bag would be really awesome. It's okay to let it out in that way. You're teaching your kiddo to know the difference between punching a pillow and punching someone, or hurting someone else or yourself and getting it out on an object like a pillow or screaming like that. I use screaming into a pillow with my own 3-year-old, and it turns a really big angry moment when I'm like, let's scream into a pillow together. I see you're so angry, let's do it. And suddenly it turns into some giggles and something funny, because it's really funny to scream into a pillow with your mom. And we work on that even in a big tantrum moment. After she's calmed down, I'm like, let's go back. Let's talk about what happened, and let's talk about some things you can do instead of hitting mom, because it's not okay. I'm not for hitting. And so we go and practice. Oh, I'm so frustrated. I'm so frustrated I didn't write that letter the way I wanted to. Let's go practice. Let's scream into a pillow. Let's punch a pillow. Let's whatever it is that you find acceptable. And it's what is acceptable in your own house. And you might have to practice that over and over, and it may seem like it's not paying off, but it will. You're teaching those kiddos those skills. And just like you think about learning any kind of skill, riding a bike, something like that, it takes time and it takes practice. So you practice with your kiddos. And I'm going to leave you with this. You can't give away what you don't have. You can't pour from an empty cup. You cannot give your kiddo that acceptance of their emotions if you're not practicing that with yourself. You know your kiddos. And so they are often like little mirrors. If you are feeling really anxious, going from one thing to another, they're gonna pick up on that. I want you to practice accepting, noticing what's going on with you and accepting that. Same thing with your kiddos. You want to notice what's going on with them and accept that. And our kids are just like us. If we just have one of those days where we can't put on a clean shirt and I'm not making any food for anybody, it's fend for yourself day, your kiddos are going to have days like that too. And they're going to kind of mirror that in you. You may notice that when you're like that, your kids are like that. And you may notice it in them before you pick up on those clues in yourself. Same thing with your kids too. So be sure that you're practicing that same acceptance and patience and love for yourself as you are with your kiddos, because you can't give them something or expect them to do something that you can't do for yourself. I'm going to link some resources in case you want some more information about this, where this stuff came from. And as always, my contact information is there too. I will see you guys next week with information about the power of play.